Okay, good evening. Welcome back to Pusat Tuition Checkup STPM semester 3 biology class with Sundram. So we are now continuing with chapter 14. So in the last class, what class was it? I think Saturday class. So we have completed the first part of chapter 14, which is taxonomy. So that is one question on its own. Now we are coming to the hardest part of chapter 14, which is biodiversity. Hard because a lot of information to remember. I already mentioned many times. Sometimes we feel remembering chapter 14, we forget all the other 6 chapters because the information is quite a lot and it's mainly the animal. The plants, the fungi, all limited explanation. Only the animal have quite a lot of explanation. What we'll do is we'll cover everything and then we'll make a summary diagram. The summary diagram will make it a bit easier for us to remember all the information. So what is taxonomy? The science of classifying living organism. What is phylogenetic tree? Phylogeny classification. How to name organisms scientifically. All of that under taxonomy. Taxonomy hierarchy. The 7 taxons. From the smallest, the most exclusive species to the most inclusive, which is the kingdom. Everything we already explained. So today we are going to start with all the kingdom. As I should have already mentioned in the last class, there is 5 kingdom. Out of the 5 kingdom, 1 kingdom already covered in semester 1. Chapter 2, the first question, difference between prokaryote and eukaryote. Because we have 5 kingdoms. The first kingdom is prokaryote. The remaining 4 kingdom, all of them comes under eukaryote. There is 4 kingdom, but they all come under eukaryote. Actually, I didn't draw the diagram here, but I have it in SPM. Okay, so this is what I drew for my Form 5 students. So you don't learn domain. So you don't learn domain. Okay, so all the living organisms, we divide them into, actually we divide them into 3 different domains. Both of these domains are basically bacteria. In Form 5, bacteria we divide into 2 types, but in Form 6, all of this comes under prokaryote. Prokaryote is basically bacteria. And all the characteristics of bacteria you already learned in semester 1. We should have drawn a picture that looks like this. So this is what I drew for my Form 4 student. Almost everything here is what you need to know. This is bacteria, prokaryote. Check back your semester 1 notes if you still have it. Chapter 2, the first question, difference between prokaryote and eukaryote. Everything that you write under prokaryote is the characteristic of kingdom prokaryote. So kingdom prokaryote, the name itself, pro is before, karyote is nucleus. So one of their main characteristics is they don't have nucleus. But in Form 5, the bacteria we divide into 2 types. So they have this domain Archaebacteria and Eubacteria, these 2 names here, but these 2 for us we don't have. We just remember prokaryote. Everything else, there is another 4 kingdom that you see here. That is kingdom Protoctista, kingdom fungi, kingdom animalia, kingdom plantae. All of them comes under domain eukarya. For us, we call all of them a eukaryote. The word eu means true. The word karyote means nucleus. So all of these organisms have nucleus. But even though they have nucleus, because they have nucleus, they are all eukaryote. But the eukaryote, each one of them, each one of the kingdom have certain characteristics. That is what we need to describe. Every kingdom and every phylum, what is the characteristic of the organism? Generally, we can divide them based on some simple question, which I think I. Okay, the question we can ask is because all of this comes under eukaryote. So to differentiate them into different groups, we can ask one question is, do they have tissue? If they don't have tissue, they come under Protoctista. The name itself, pro means before, tista means tissue. So basically Protoctista means all the organism under this kingdom, they don't have tissue organization. Most of them are unicell. Some are multicellular, but they don't have tissue. So Protoctista means before tissue. Organisms under this kingdom does not have tissue organization. So the first question we ask, okay, they are eukaryote. Eukaryote means they have nucleus. If they have nucleus, do they have tissue organization? If they don't have tissue organization, put them under kingdom Protoctista. That means all of these have tissue organization. Fungi, Animalia, Plantae, they are multicellular, they have tissue organization. We ask these three questions. Do they have chlorophyll? Can they make their own food? Do they have cell wall? If they have, the cell wall is made out of what? Can they move or cannot move? These three basic questions we can use to differentiate all the three kingdoms. For example, even the cell wall is enough. The cell wall alone is enough to separate the three kingdoms. Animalia, the cell does not have cell wall. Plantae, the cell wall is made of cellulose. Fungi, the cell wall is made of something called as chitin. That's enough. That is already dividing the organism into three different kingdoms. All of them have tissue organization. If the cell does not have cell wall, kingdom Animalia. If they have cell wall, but the cell wall is made of cellulose, kingdom Plantae. If the cell wall is made of chitin, then is kingdom Fungi. So from the cell wall itself, we can already divide them into three kingdoms. Chlorophyll, fungi don't have, Animalia don't have, only Plantae have. Plantae is autotroph, can make their own food. Animalia and fungi are heterotroph, cannot synthesize own food. Movement, only Animalia can move in general, fungi and Plantae cannot move. So this is already 3 marks. If the question asks you for like, I think this year, SPM question they ask, characteristic of animal kingdom. All of this is the answer. The cell wall the cell does not have cell wall. They don't have chlorophyll, cannot do photosynthesis, heterotroph. Most of them are able to move. And even this is 1 mark. They have tissue organization, they are multicellular organism. This is the main. But every one of them, fungi, Animalia, Plantae, they also have other unique characteristics. So what are the other unique characteristics? That is what we are going to cover under biodiversity. So this is just to show you, what we learned in Form 5. The 5 different kingdom. Prokaryote, Protoctista, fungi, Animalia, and also Plantae. Each one of them, we need to explain the phylum. What is the characteristic of the phylum? So I'll go back to Form 6 notes. Okay, so we are now here. Okay, under biodiversity. So the first kingdom is Protoctista. Earlier, you saw the name Protoctista. So the full name is Protoctista. Basically, the name pro means before. The name tista means tissue. So it's basically before tissue. Tista means tissue. And pro means before. So it means before tissue. So organisms under this group might be unicellular, might be multicellular, but they don't have tissue organization. That's the main. Some of them will have animal characteristic, but they are not animal because they don't have tissue. Some will have plant characteristic, but they are not plant because they don't have tissue. So any organism that have animal characteristic but cannot be animal because they don't form tissue, we put them under what we call as, in the next page, protozoa. If the organism under Protoctista, if they have animal characteristic, what is animal characteristic? Cell wall don't have, able to move, cannot do photosynthesis. Example, they have animal characteristic, but you can't classify them as animal because animal must have tissue. So ada ciri haiwan tapi tak boleh jadi haiwan sebab dia unicell. We put them under a group we call protozoa. Even here you can see pro means before, zoa means zoo, zoo means animal. So before animal, they have the characteristic of animal but cannot be animal because they are unicell or multicell but no tissue. So they are all eukaryote, meaning they have nucleus, does not contain photosynthesis pigment, they don't have cell wall. All of these are animal characteristics. But one characteristic they don't have. They are unicell, multicell, no tissue. If they have animal characteristic, we put them under protozoa. If they have plant characteristic, we put them under alga. So algae is unicellular or multicellular, no tissue, but have plant characteristic. So they are photosynthetic protoctists, meaning unicellular, multicellular that can do photosynthesis. They are not plant because they don't have what a plant should have. They don't have stem, they don't have root, they don't have leaf. It is like a group of cells that we call as, this word thallus, you're going to use often for plant explanation. It's like it's a group of cells that can do photosynthesis. So it is known as a thallus, a small group of cells that can do photosynthesis. They don't have stem, they don't have root, they don't have leaf, but they can do photosynthesis. The cell wall is maybe made of cell wall. They have cell wall. Because they have cell wall, because they can do photosynthesis, they are animal. But you can't classify them as animal because they don't have tissue. So we put them under a group known as algae. Both algae and protozoa comes under Protoctista. They have chloroplast, they have photosynthesis pigment, they can do photosynthesis, they have vacuoles. But the main point is, have cell wall, can do photosynthesis, cannot form tissue. If they are Protoctists, you cannot classify them as animal, plants, or fungi. Why? Because they don't have tissue. So, but they have nucleus. They are eukaryotic, meaning they have nucleus. But they are not animal, they are not fungi, they are not plants. So we create a separate group for them, a separate kingdom for them. I normally call this as a dumping ground. When you discover an organism, we ask this question: is it an animal? No. Is it a plant? No. Is it a fungi? No. Is it a bacteria? Also no. So they don't fit into all of this group, but they have nucleus. They don't fit into plants, animal, and fungi, but have nucleus. Because they have nucleus, we can put under bacteria. So we create a kingdom called Protoctista. That is why the first definition is that you see not classified as animal, plants, fungi. If you cannot put them under these three kingdoms, we put them under Protoctista. In quote, the dumping ground. They don't fit the other three, so we put them here. But when we put them here, we realize either they have animal or plant characteristic. If they have plant characteristic, algae. Animal characteristic, protozoa. So that is kingdom Protoctista. Examples of organism. Heterotroph, Amoeba paramecium. Autotroph, Euglena. This one can do photosynthesis. Some are parasitic, example Plasmodium. Plasmodium will explain in chapter 13 under malaria. Plasmodium cause malaria. Okay, we have algae, algae plant characteristic. Protozoa is animal characteristic. Any question for Protoctista? Any question for Protoctista? Why? Supposed to follow on its own. Tomorrow you'll follow. Not all. Some. Okay, so Protoctista is considered easy. Before tissue, the name it's a before tissue already 1 mark, which is they are unicell or multicell but don't have tissue organization. That's 1 mark. Eukaryote have nucleus, 1 mark. If they have animal characteristic, protozoa. If they have plant characteristic, alga. You describe alga. Have cell wall, can do photosynthesis, have photosynthesis pigment. You describe protozoa. Don't have cell wall, cannot do photosynthesis, heterotroph. Done. That is Protoctista. So Protoctista easy. Under the kingdom Protoctista, this is kingdom. The exam question will be phylum, because the syllabus mentioned the phylum characteristic. If I show you the syllabus, okay, the syllabus mentions so if you see here, they actually specifically mention morphological characteristic of kingdom. Oh no, phyla, sorry. Phyla means phylum. Singular is phylum, plural is phyla. So actually they want the phylum explanation. They don't want the kingdom explanation. But since the name of the kingdom is mentioned in the syllabus, so just to be on the safe side, we describe the kingdom. After we describe the kingdom, we describe the phylum in the kingdom. So all the phylum that you need to know is already mentioned in the syllabus. The problem is the animal, because animal have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. At least 6. Whole syllabus, phylum of animal got, I think, around 13 animal phylum. That's phylum. After phylum, you learn kingdom also. Class also. Class also we learn. Imagine 13 phylum. How many class also we forget already. And that's only the animal, haven't included the plant and everything else. So biodiversity used to be a big headache. It's still a headache, but it's less headache because there are less phylum. Still, even this less also is quite a lot of information for us to remember. So for the moment, we already described kingdom Protoctista. Under this kingdom, we need to give one example of algae, one example of protozoa. one algae and one protozoa. So that's what we have in the next page. So in the next page, we have phylum Chlorophyta. The phylum is under the kingdom Protoctista. As the name suggests, Chlorophyta, meaning they can do photosynthesis. And the best you can do, actually, the easiest way to remember all the information is to draw the diagram, to draw the organism. Everything that you label in this picture is what you need to know. For example, they have cell wall made of cellulose. They have chloroplast. The chloroplast is actually this one. This is the chloroplast. So what I've colored is the chloroplast. This is all plant characteristics. They have chloroplast, can do photosynthesis. They are autotroph. They have cell wall made of cellulose. These two is actually a plant characteristic. Other extra information, they have something called as pyrenoid, where starch is produced. They store starch. They have stigma, also known as the red eye, to detect light, because they need to do photosynthesis. They need to detect light. They need to move towards the place where there is more light, higher light intensity. They move, meaning they can move. They have flagellum to move towards the light. They have contractile vacuole to do a process called as osmoregulation. What is osmoregulation? No need to describe, but you should know from your Form 4. All of these organisms in general, they are found in fresh water, air tawar. So fresh water, water potential is highest fresh water. So like it or not, the water will diffuse into the cell osmosis. They cannot stop that. Water will diffuse because fresh water is highest water potential. So water will diffuse into the cell. So how they make sure the cell doesn't burst? This contractile vacuole will collect the water. Later they contract, they push the water out. That explanation you learn under Form 4, osmoregulation. For this, no need, maybe in semester 1, when you learn components of the cell, when you learn vacuole, I should have explained this, what is osmoregulation. But that's semester 1. Now we are only interested with, this is algae. This is the characteristic. We just list down the characteristic. It has contractile vacuole. What for all, no need to explain. If you want also, you can write for osmoregulation. But what is osmoregulation? Semester 1, for now, no need. So I would suggest to you, draw this organism. What you label is what you need to write in exam. That is the characteristic. So everything that is labeled in this picture is the answer that you need to write. That is the answer that I'm going to underline now. So if you see, the example is Chlamydomonas. It's a scientific name. Must underline and must start with capital C. Chlamydomonas. Pear-shaped cell. The pear shape should look something like that. Pear shape. Wider at the bottom, narrower at the top. I can just put the stem here, for example. So that is pear shape. If you can, you write, the shape, no extra mark, but just to describe how they look like. What you must mention is cell wall is cellulose. Might be covered by mucilage. This mucilage is something like mucus, like we produce mucus. For unicellular organism, this is called as mucilage. The composition is different. Our mucus, like for example, you have throat infection, you cough out, phlegm comes out. Phlegm is actually mucus. They have certain function. For example, they trap pathogen. For unicellular organism or for Protoctista, they might be covered with mucus, and the mucus name is mucilage. If you remember, you can write this. Protoplast. The word protoplast is, in case you don't know, protoplast is cytoplasm and nucleus combined. Cytoplasm and nucleus combined, you get protoplasm. So cytoplasm and nucleus become protoplasm. Protoplasm is surrounded by plasma membrane. They have contractile vacuole to do osmoregulation. As I mentioned, you just write this enough. What is osmoregulation? For the moment, not needed. They have ribosome. They have membrane-bound organelles such as mitochondria. Now, why do we write this sentence? Because this is the second kingdom. The first kingdom is prokaryote, bacteria. One of the answer for bacteria is they don't have membrane-bound organelles. Bacteria don't have mitochondria, chloroplast, nucleus, smooth endoplasmic, rough endoplasmic, lysosome, vacuole, all don't have, because all of them are membrane-bound organelles. That's the first kingdom, prokaryote. So when we go to the second kingdom, we mention this one have all of that. Membrane-bound organelle, they have, because we want to compare with the first kingdom. The next kingdom, no need to mention, because the third one have same with the second one. So we no need to mention. But the second one we mention because the first one didn't have. The second kingdom, Protoctista have. So we need to mention they have membrane-bound organelle. They have ribosome. They are photosynthetic. They have chlorophyll A and chlorophyll B. A and B. And the chlorophyll is arranged in a cup-like structure. So you can see here, large cup-shaped chloroplast. And the center should have this, the black color is the nucleus. Surrounding the nucleus is the chloroplast. Pyrenoid is starch formation. And to produce and store the starch, light-dependent reaction followed by light-independent. Light-independent, you need RuBP carboxylase, semester 1. RuBP carboxylase, commercial name is Rubisco. So they do photosynthesis, they have chloroplast. Chloroplast is where light phase and light independent phase occurs. Light dependent, light independent. Light independent will have will need RuBP carboxylase. Red eye spot to detect changes in light. We can call it red spot. Sometimes we call it stigma that you see here. Sometimes you call it stigma, sometimes you call it red, because when we look through microscope, they do look like they do have the red color. And they have flagella for movement. Take note. Most of these are general characteristic of alga. General characteristic. This is not for all the alga. This is specifically for Chlamydomonas. One example of alga. Like for example, this cup-shaped chloroplast, not all the alga have. Chlamydomonas have. All the alga have chloroplast. They can do photosynthesis. But what is the shape? Chlamydomonas have this large U shape. Others might have something different. So the list that we have here is specifically for Chlamydomonas. But in this list, we also have characteristic of algae. For example, this is characteristic of algae. This is characteristic of algae. This is characteristic of algae. All the algae will have this. But some is unique for Chlamydomonas. Example is the cup-shaped chloroplast. All algae have chloroplast, but this one have cup-shaped chloroplast. This is the example for unicellular algae. Unicellular algae. There is also an example for multicellular algae. They are multicell, but they don't form tissue. They don't form tissue, they are not plant. But the next example is a multicellular organism. For the moment, phylum Chlorophyta. Any question for phylum Chlorophyta? Feel a bit tired, so I want to wash my face. 1 minute. If you have any question, you can ask. Any question about Chlorophyta? Lao Jiaju asked, do we need to memorize the specific name? Yes. For biodiversity, because every phylum you need to know one name. Objective question, structure question they ask. So must this one have to remember, no choice. Not everything. So like for algae, we have Chlamydomonas. For every phylum, you'll have one name. There is many, but that one name you need to remember. It's not mentioned in the text. I don't think the syllabus mentioned the name, but we have many past year questions that without the name, you cannot identify the organism. So this one I would say, now many times I say no need to remember, but this one have to remember. Okay, they mentioned Chlorophyta. So Chlorophyta is the phylum. So you must know at least one example for the phylum. At least one you need to know. So have to remember, no choice. Have to remember. And I think Chlamydomonas, if I'm not mistaken, you also learn in PT3 also you will learn, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, so at the moment, we already learned unicellular algae. So unicellular algae. Now we also have another example. This one, most of the revision books will have it. So because it's just in case we put it in, sometimes we really don't know whether they're in or not in. Chlamydomonas is in. But under the same Chlorophyta phylum, there is another example which is multicell, but they don't have tissue. This is Spirogyra. So we call it as filamentous alga. As for me, I remember, I like the name Spirogyra a lot. It's a nice name. And there used to be 1970s, I think, there used to be a band, a group of singers that had that name, Spirogyra. The group's name is Spirogyra. So for that, for me, it's easy because I know the name before I learned biology, because the band was, they had some nice songs. So anyway, it's in the syllabus. Whether it's in the syllabus or not, we don't know. But alga, they are unicell, they are also multicell. So example of multicell will be Spirogyra. Now this is how the Spirogyra looks like. It's quite beautiful actually. So what you can see, first thing is These green ones are the chlorophyll. The chlorophyll is arranged in a filament. They coil in coil fashion. So you can see it's around the they coil around the cell, because the center is the cytoplasm. So you can see the cytoplasm also, it's in color it. So the cytoplasm, this is the cytoplasm that I'm coloring now. So cytoplasm are at peripheral, they are dekat tepi, but they hold the nucleus in the center. So this is the cytoplasm that are located at the site. These are all the vacuole. The white area is the vacuole. So in the center, they have the nucleus. So as you can see, the nucleus suspended in the center. The cytoplasm is at the periphery, and the chloroplast is in a filament. They are coiled around, as you can see here. It's something like they are like this, and it's inside the cell. Clearly you can see, and if you look through microscope, they are quite beautiful. So why we have them in my notes? Because alga can be unicell, multicell. Unicell is Chlamydomonas, multicell is Spirogyra, but no tissue organization. Even though they form filament, many cells arranged in a row, but they are all independent cells. They work on their own. They don't work together. If they work together, that means they are tissue. So just we have many cells joined end to end, but every one of them is like our houses. My house, what we do inside is, we have a row of houses, but every house is, they do their own thing. Rarely we work together unless gotong royong or something like that. So every cell is one organism, but they are arranged in a row in a filament. That's all. So this will be Spirogyra. Characteristic: filamentous alga. The wall is joined end to end to form filament. No division of labor. So ini penting. Meaning they are not working together. Every cell is an individual cell. If they work together, they become tissue, then you must put this under different kingdom. Because they are individual cells that is in a row, so it's Protoctista. Nucleus suspended in the central position by strands of cytoplasm. These are the strands, this blue color, this one, if I were to, this is the strands of cytoplasm. All of that we call strands of cytoplasm. In the center is the nucleus. So peripheral layer of cytoplasm, the word peripheral means dekat tepi. That means if you draw the cell, let's say you draw one Spirogyra like this. This is the cell wall, it's made of cellulose. So this is the cytoplasm. So this is the cytoplasm. Actually, what I'm drawing now is the vacuole. So what I'm coloring now is the cytoplasm. The cytoplasm is at the periphery. Dia ada dekat tepi. This is the peripheral cytoplasm. This is the cytoplasmic strands. These are the cytoplasmic strands. At the center is basically the nucleus. Now the chloroplast is arranged in a strand. Something like this. It makes the whole diagram messy, but it's coiled around the cell, inside the cell, but it's around the cell, inside the cytoplasm. That will be the chloroplast. So they have large vacuole. Use the word a large vacuole. Okay. Maybe because the way we cut across the cell, It appears like many vacuole. Combine all, it's considered. I'm using the word one vacuole. That's what they have in the notes. So we use that as one vacuole. So they have one or more chloroplasts in spiral form. Okay, done. This is again, if you know the name, I would it's not an option. You need to know the name. Spirogyra, Chlamydomonas, the next one, Euglena, all need to know the name. Exam question will be list down the characteristic. You don't need to give any explanation. Eukaryote have nucleus. And normally we take half mark for each characteristic. So if they ask you what are the characteristics of algae, eukaryote have nucleus, have membrane-bound organelles such as mitochondria, have cell wall made of cellulose. If it's Chlamydomonas, you describe, have chloroplast, can do photosynthesis, have contractile vacuole to do. You just list down the characteristic, check how many marks. They give you 3 marks, list down 6 characteristics. They give you 5 marks, list down 10 characteristics. No need to explain. Have this, have that, have this, have that. Done. That's all. So biodiversity, if you look in terms of the question actually easy. You just have to list down the characteristic. Nothing to explain. Remember and write back. That's all. So they are not going to ask you, describe the process. That kind of question don't have. List down the characteristics. So you just put a list, that's your marks. So you need to remember the characteristics. That's all, no explanation here. So we are done with Spirogyra, which is multicellular but no tissue. We have Chlamydomonas, which is unicellular alga. Protoctista, we divide to 2. Plant characteristic, alga. Animal characteristic is protozoa, before animal, protozoa. And the example for animal that we have in the notes, I think is Euglena. Check. Euglena. This Euglena is unique in the sense they also can do photosynthesis. They can also do photosynthesis, but at the same time they have animal characteristics. So this is Euglena. As you can see, they have chloroplast, but we put them under this phylum Zoomestigina. The name zoo itself means animal. They have chloroplast, but at the same time, they have more animal characteristics. They have both, but because they have more animal characteristics and a few other reasons, they are classified under Zoomestigina. The name of the phylum need to know. You saw in the syllabus, the name was there. Zoomestigina, the word zoo means animal. Animal characteristic, but no tissue. Example is Euglena, unicellular, no cellulose cell wall because animal characteristic. But Euglena have something like a fixed shape because flexible shape because they don't have cell wall, but they have something else called as a pellicle, which is made out of protein. You can see the name in the diagram. This is the pellicle. Because it's made of protein, so they give extra strength to the cell. They don't have cell, they're not as strong as the cell wall, but they enable this Euglena to maintain the shape. So no cell wall, but still can maintain the shape, flexible shape, because they have something called as pellicle. Again, is pellicle have shape enough? How they do that, all no need to explain. List down the characteristic more than enough. So some of the more important characteristic, they are animal, they don't have cell wall. But this one, by right, they shouldn't have chloroplast, but you're gonna have chloroplast. The cytoplasm is surrounded by pellicle. So as the name suggests, it's under the plasma membrane and before the cytoplasm. So they surround the cytoplasm, but pellicle is surrounded by plasma membrane. Outside of the pellicle is plasma membrane. This pellicle enable the organism to assume various shape. They can maintain the shape. Cannot do that if they only have cell membrane, plasma membrane. So to make sure they can maintain the shape, they have extra structure we call pellicle. They have stigma, which is also known as red eye spot, to detect, and also mainly to detect the light and to move, to know the direction of light. They also have flagellum to swim or to move towards the light, to absorb sunlight. When they move towards the sunlight is known as phototaxis. Photo means sunlight. Taxis is movement of unicellular organism, the whole organism. So the word taxis means movement of the whole organism. So the whole organism will move. In this case, they move towards photo. Photo means light. Because they're moving towards the light is positive. If they move away, negative. They move towards light. Because towards positive, because light, photo, because the whole organism move, it's taxis. Phototaxis. Positive phototaxis. They have flagellum for movement. Movement also known as locomotion. Also have contractile vacuole for osmoregulation. They have something called as paramylum, which is carbohydrate storage. Something extra. And according to the picture, they also have pyrenoid for starch synthesis. I didn't put it in the list, but in the picture we have pyrenoid. Normally, unicellular organism, you need to remember 6 characteristics, minimum 6. Most of the time, they give 3 marks for the characteristic. More advanced organism like animal, we ask for 10 characteristics. This is unicellular, considered simple organism. Make sure you have at least 6. Now, out of the 6, the name of the kingdom is Protoctista. So kingdom Protoctista from the name, no tissue organization. Most of them are unicells, some multicell, but no tissue organization. That's one. It's eukaryote. They have nucleus. That's one. They have membrane-bound organelles. That's one. Do they have or don't have cell wall? Algae have cellulose. Euglena don't have. But they have, don't have already 1 mark. But they have pellicle. That's another 1 mark to maintain the shape. Do they have or don't have? Simple. Tissue organization, have or don't have. Cell wall, have or don't have. Nucleus, have or don't have. Chloroplast, have or don't have. If have, autotroph. Don't have, heterotroph. Can move or cannot move. If they can move, what they have to move. Like if you look at Spirogyra, they don't move. They don't have flagellum. Chlamydomonas and Euglena can move because they have flagellum. So the basics is enough to cover the 6 points. The basics enough. No tissue, have or don't have cell wall, have or don't have nucleus, have or don't have membrane-bound organelles, can or cannot do photosynthesis, can or cannot move. That 6 question is enough to get you the 3 marks. So yes, they have some extra unique characteristic. They have pyrenoid. They have a red eye spot. They store paramylum. These are extra, which normally comes out in objective question. But if it's structure essay, they will ask you what is the characteristic. So we list down. Structure essay, you just need to list down. In objective question, they'll test your memory by asking what they store. For example, do they store starch? Do they store glycogen? Do they store paramylum? For example, these are not specific answers. But the structure and essay, you just need to list down the characteristic. As I mentioned, we'll finish all the kingdoms. After that, we'll make a summary table. The summary table, you can see how the simple organism slowly becomes more advanced. As they become more advanced, they have better organization. Protoctista done. Under Protoctista, 2 phylum. Chlorophyta, chloro means can do photosynthesis. Zoomestigena, zoo means animal characteristic. So euglena, even if you didn't mention they have chloroplast, the others is enough to get you the 3 marks. Normally 3. If they want, they can ask 5. Normally they don't do that. They normally ask for 3. But if they want, they can ask for 5 also. 5 marks means you need to know 10 characteristics. That one normally they do for more advanced organism. Any question for Protoctista? Because we are going to go to the next kingdom, which is fungi. Fungi is another easy kingdom, but for the moment, Protoctista, any question? Protoctista. Already 9:40. Already 1 hour. Flies. Okay. Protoctista done. No tissue organization. That's the main characteristic. No tissue organization, but have nucleus. So I forgot to mention, have or don't have nucleus is another one important characteristic. Eukaryote organism have nucleus. Now, fungi onwards. Fungi, plantae, animalia. They are all multicellular with tissue organization. The first 2 points standard. Eukaryote have nucleus. Multicellular with tissue organization. That's already 2 important characters. The rest, as I mentioned, have or don't have cell wall. If have, made out of what? Have or don't have chloroplast. If have, autotroph. Don't have heterotroph. Can move or cannot move. If can move, preferably describe how they move. Or just mentioning can move already another. So these are all the important characteristics that will give you the first 2-3 marks. Every organism, you ask this question, the standard question. After that, the remaining 2 marks, 3 marks is what's unique for them. For example, we are learning fungi. It's a eukaryote have nucleus. First point. Multicellular organism with tissue organization. Second point. Don't have chloroplast, cannot do photosynthesis, heterotroph. Have cell wall, but cell wall of fungi is made out of chitin. Important characteristic. They have cell wall is made of chitin. Cannot move. So this basic information itself already give me 5 points. Basic information that you can use for fungi, you can use for plant, you can use for animal, you can use for Protoctista. Basic question. 5 points already there. The extra 5 points is what's unique for that. What else is unique for fungi? Fungi. Now, when you think of a plant, like Protoctista, unicell, almost all of them unicell, Protoctista. Now, fungi is multicell. When you think of multicell, when you're describing a plant, for example, have stem, have leaf, have root, that's a plant. When you think of plant, these 3 names comes. Leaf, stem, root. If you think of animal, normally what comes to mind? Head, hands, leg, tail, for example, These are the normal characteristic of animal because they move. To move, they have leg, and sometimes they have 4 legs or 2 hands for them to interact. Surely have head most of the time. So every one of this kingdom, there are some things that that describes the kingdom. Immediately you know. So when you think of fungi, we think of mushroom. They don't have leaf, they don't have stem, they don't have root. So how do you describe a fungi? Like humans, we have head, a pair of hand, a pair of leg, we have body, for example. That's what we have. Plants have leaves, stem, roots. What does the fungi have? The whole body of fungi consists of network of hyphae. This is the network of hyphae. This one here is the hyphae. The one I'm coloring now. Cannot use green, so use brown. So this is the hyphae that I'm coloring now. So this is a fungi. A fungi is a network of hyphae. This is how the body of a fungi looks like. It's a network of hyphae. And a network of hyphae becomes what we call as mycelium. So this one you have to mention. Body consists of network of hyphae which forms mycelium. This is hyphae. Many hyphae become mycelium. Must mention. After the 5 general points I gave earlier, the next one you need to mention the body of a fungi consists of a network of hyphae. Hyphae is plural, hyphae is singular. And a network of hyphae forms mycelium. So that one must have. So if you see here, this is the characteristic. Body usually, why we use the word usually? Because there is one unicellular fungi, yeast. The only unicellular fungi is yeast. The rest is all multicell. Body usually consists of mycelium, which is a network of hyphae. General characteristic. They are all multicell except yeast, which is unicell. This is another characteristic. It's eukaryote, have nucleus. No photosynthesis, no chlorophyll. That means they are heterotroph. Definition of heterotroph: obtains organic substance from various sources. You will learn in chapter 15. Heterotroph means they obtain organic substance from various sources. Obtain organic substance from various sources. That's the meaning of heterotroph. So the word here is various sources. Sumber blina. Some of them break down a dead organic matter. Decomposition. If they do decomposition, you will learn in chapter 15 later. Decomposition, saprotroph. Some of them parasite. They absorb organic substance from the host. Either they are decomposers or they are parasite most of the time. So here we have the name. They might be saprotroph, meaning they do decomposition. They might be parasite. They absorb organic substance from host. Mutualists, they work together with another organism. For example, you learn Biston betularia moth under speciation. The story of Biston betularia, originally the trees are covered with lichen. Lichen. The trees are covered with lichen. The light color peppered moth will rest on the tree bark. The tree barks are covered with lichen. Lichen is actually alga and fungi working together. Alga have advantage. They can do photosynthesis. Disadvantage, they are unicell. Alga. Fungi have advantage. Multicell, larger, more protection. But disadvantage, cannot do photosynthesis. So the fungi and the alga joint venture. They become lichen. Alga do photosynthesis, give organic substance to fungi. Fungi protect the alga, provide mineral ions and water to alga. That is something called as lichen. So lichen is mutualism. Two organisms working together, both get benefit. So under this, we have alga. Now what alga can do? They can do photosynthesis. When they do photosynthesis, what happens? They produce organic substance. The organic substance is glucose, for example. Now on the other side, we have the fungi. Now these fungi cannot do photosynthesis, but they have an advantage. They are multicell. Because they are multicell, what they can do is they can protect the alga. They provide protection, and they also do one more, which is provide water, minerals. So the alga gain something, the fungi gain something, they live happily ever after. In this case, the alga and fungi are mutualist. Both gain benefit. Parasite, only parasite gain benefit. Saprotroph, they break down dead organic matter. So all of these, the fungi can do. One thing they cannot do, no photosynthesis. Cannot do photosynthesis. The body is a network of hyphae. A network of hyphae becomes what we call as mycelium. Have cell wall. Cell wall is made of chitin. Must mention. Cannot move. Non-motile. Because no cilia, no flagellum. If they are long, flagellum. If they are short, cilia. If there are many, cilia. If it's one or two, flagellum. The length and the number between cilia and flagellum. Cilia is shorter, many. Like paramecium have cilia. Many cilia. Flagella is normally longer, maybe one or two. Like Euglena have one, Chlamydomonas have two. They store glycogen. Storing glycogen is animal cell characteristic, but fungi also store glycogen. They don't store starch. The cell wall don't have cellulose. The cell wall have chitin. This is kingdom fungi. Kingdom fungi. We also must know the phylum. In the old syllabus, fungi have 3 phylum. Need to remember all 3. Basidiomycota, Zygomycota, and Ascomycota. 3 phylum. Your syllabus, only 1 phylum, Zygomycota. So that's what we have down here. Zygomycota. There's another 2 phylum. Syllabus only mention this, so we only explain this. Again, you can repeat back all of this. All of this is Zygomycota. eukaryote, no photosynthesis, heterotroph, hyphae become mycelium, cell wall chitin, cannot move, stalk like you can repeat all of this for zygomycota. That's already around 4 marks. What else is extra for zygomycota? Example of zygomycota is mucor. You take bread, you leave it outside the house for a few days. Inside the house also okay. You leave it for a few days, you see fungi growing on the bread. Common name is bread mold. Kulapo roti in Malay, English is bread mold, bread fungi. Scientific name is mucor. So that is zygomycota. Example is mucor. Need to know the name. If you realize, the points are same. Body is mycelium, network of hyphae. What's extra? The hyphae is aseptate, meaning, let's say this is the hyphae. Let's say this is the hyphae. The hyphae may be divided into cells. This one we call septate. That means the hyphae is divided by a wall. So you can see individual cells. If the same one now we don't have these walls. They all already fused to become one large cell. This we call aseptate. So that means that many cells already joined. The cytoplasm is from one long cell, many cells already fused. The nucleus is inside, many nucleus inside. This wall don't have. So mucor is under aseptate. So that's what we have in here. Aseptate does not have cross wall. Cross wall is this. This is the cross wall. Don't have. So individual cells are combined into elongated, multinucleated giant cells. Long cell, which is made of many cells already fused. Nucleus are distributed at intervals throughout cytoplasm, as you can see here. There's one here, one here, one here. There's the interval. After a certain gap, got nucleus. After a certain gap, got nucleus. From the beginning until ending. Gap, nucleus, gap, nucleus. Other nucleus, other cytoplasm, other nucleus, other cytoplasm. Got gap between the nucleus, as you can see in my picture. So this is meaning of aseptate. They have many types of storage granule, but the main one is glycogen. Mucor is saprotroph. They do decomposition. To do reproduction, they have this sporangium. And sporangium is full of spores. When the sporangium opens, the spores are released. But that's extra. You need to know 10 points. Out of the 10 points, the basic question is already 5. Eukaryote, no chlorophyll, heterotroph, have cell wall made of chitin, have nucleus, that's the meaning of eukaryote. Body is mycelium, network of hyphae. That is for fungi. Store glycogen, fungi. Cell wall is made of chitin. So that's for fungi. For mucor, they have some extra. The hyphae is aseptate. Many cells fuse to become one large cell, giant cell. They have cytoplasm. Nucleus is scattered in the cytoplasm. At certain interval, there is nucleus. They store glycogen. So, and they are saprotroph. Muco must be decomposer. They are saprotroph. That will be for fungi. Because fungi only has, for our syllabus, there's only one phylum. We can quickly finish off the fungi. There's only one. There is supposed to be 3 kingdoms. Syllabus mention only one. So you know this enough. The other 2 is Basidiomycota, Escomycota. Old syllabus need to know, now no need. The only example is for our syllabus, muco. Any question for fungi? Any question for fungi? So prokaryote done. After prokaryote, we went into Protoctista. Under Protoctista, you learn 2 phylum. Chlorophyta, Zoomestigina. Then we came to kingdom fungi. There's only one phylum in our syllabus, Zygomycota. So prokaryote done, Protoctista done, fungi done. The next 2 is the most complex one. We have kingdom Plantae, we have kingdom Animalia. Kingdom Plantae have 4 phylum. 4 phylum, kingdom Plantae. Kingdom Animalia actually have many phylum. I think, if I remember correctly, 13. But they have reduced it to, I think, around 6. But in the old syllabus, used to be more. Plants always 4. Old syllabus also 4. New syllabus also 4. But the old syllabus, you don't only need to know the characteristic. You also need to know how they do reproduction. So the reproduction cycle, which is complicated, also need to remember. Old syllabus. Your syllabus, specifically, they mention morphological characteristic. So chiri morphology. So the reproduction explanation, no need for the plant. The reproduction is the complex one. No more in the syllabus. What is the name of the phylum? What is the characteristic? What is the name of the organism? Enough. We start from a simple plant that is multi-cell, can do photosynthesis, but leaf, stem, root don't have. They can do photosynthesis, they are multi-cell, they have tissue, but no leaf, no stem, no root. Simple plants. The first one, Bryophyta. After that, plant that is a large leaf. The leaf is large. Ferns. Then we go to 2 plants. The fern comes under Felicynophyta, the next kingdom, next phylum. Bryophyta, Felicynophyta. Then you have conifer trees. Coniferophyta. And the last is flowering plants, Angiospermophyta. 4 kingdom. 4 phylum. Bryophyta, Felicynophyta, Coniferophyta, Angiospermophyta. All the 4, you have one example. For Bryophyta, we have Marcantia. You'll see the name. Another nice name that quite catchy, Marcantia. For the ferns, we have Dryopteris. Later you see the name. Conifer, you have Pinus, Pinus. And for the flowering, we have sunflower tree and sunflower plant and corn plant. These are the examples you need to know. We'll finish with first plant, Bryophyta. Plantae general characteristic, eukaryotic. That's why eukaryotic means have nucleus. Multicellular with tissue. That's already 2 points. It's a eukaryotic organism. The cells have nucleus. It's a multicellular organism with tissue organization. Sudah 2 marker. 2 facts, 2 characteristics. Autotroph. because they can do photosynthesis. They have chlorophyll A, B, xanthophyll, carotenoid, everything you learned semester 1 under light dependent reaction. Phaeophytin transfer to plastoquinone, cytochrome B6F, then plastocyanine, and then the sequence. Photosynthesis pigment got 5 names. Chlorophyll A, chlorophyll B, xanthophyll, carotenoid. There is one more, phaeophytin. Semester 1 you got learned. The phaeophytin is also an electron carrier. So that's why we didn't put here. A, B, xanthophyll, carotenoid. You can remember carrot meaning orange color. Carotenoid is orange color. Xanthophyll, normally how I remember, xanthophyll starts with X. After X is Y. So xanthophyll yellow color, Y for yellow. That's how I remember. Chlorophyll A and B. Chlorophyll A, bluish green. Chlorophyll B is green. So carotenoid is orange. This is orange color. Xanthophyll is yellow. Chlorophyll B is green. And chlorophyll A is bluish green. Not sure whether spelling bluish is correct or not. Now, bluish green color maybe this one, bluish green. These are the 4 photosynthesis pigments. They have chloroplast. They have cell wall cellulose. They store starch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Basics 5. You can add one more. Cannot move. 6. Already 6 out of the 10 you already know. You need minimum 10. So out of the minimum 10, the 5, 6 points all is basic questions. Have or don't have nucleus, have or don't have tissue, have or don't have chloroplast, have or don't have cell wall, what type of food they store, can move, cannot move. These are basic questions that can give you your first 6 points. What else is extra? What else is extra? It depends on the phylum. The phylum will have their own characteristic, but all the 4 phylum of plants, you can use this answer. All of this is for all the plants. But every plant will have their own characteristic. The first one is Bryophyta. Okay, now under these plants, we have this unique explanation we call alternation of generation. So there is 2 generations that have difference in the genetic contents. There is haploid generation. There is also diploid generation. These 2 generations will alternate, shifting back and forth between haploid and diploid stages during life cycle. So the plant, certain time they will be haploid, certain time they will be diploid. And then they come back haploid. Like for us, from the time we are born until we die, we form zygote, diploid. Until we die, we are diploid. The organism is diploid from the birth until death. We don't become haploid. We produce sperm and ovum. That is to produce the next generation. But we are diploid. But plants, especially the lower level plants, they are timed during the life cycle, they are haploid. Then they become diploid. Then they become haploid. So diploid, haploid, diploid, haploid. That's the meaning, the alternation of generation. Haploid generation, diploid generation alternate. For some time they are haploid, for some time they are diploid. Both haploid and diploid generation have name. The diploid generation we call sporophyte. Diploid. Need to remember the name. For plants, this is important. Gametophyte generation is haploid. Now, how do I remember this? Now, we know the name is gametophyte. The name is gametophyte. The name is based on what they produce. Gametophyte produce gamete. And we know gamete is haploid. Always gamete is haploid. Now, this is the name gametophyte because they produce gamete. They produce gamete. Now, this is where I remember something. We make gamete by doing meiosis. We make gamete by doing meiosis. What I remember is for the plant, they make gamete by doing mitosis. That's one thing I always remember. And that one thing I remember, everything else straight. This is one thing you need to remember. We make gamete by doing meiosis. The plant form gamete by doing mitosis. So the now gamete is haploid. Mitosis produce gamete means the gametophyte also should be haploid. Because mitosis will maintain what the organism has. So this is how I remember gametophyte. I know gametophyte forms gamete, and I know gamete is haploid. The one extra thing I remember, plants, they make gamete, not like animals. We do meiosis, they do mitosis. If mitosis, the parent and the offspring must be same genetic context. What is gametophyte generation? Gametophyte generation is haploid generation that produces haploid gamete through mitosis. That's the definition of gametophyte generation. Haploid generation that produces haploid gamete through mitosis, cell division. If you know gametophyte, what is sporophyte? Sporophyte produces spores. Spores will be haploid. Spores will be haploid. The name sporophyte because they produce spore. But if this one already do mitosis, this one must do meiosis. Must be opposite. Now, to produce meiosis, to produce haploid spores, sporophyte must be diploid. What happens to the sporophyte? The sporophyte become the spore become gamete, gametophyte. Now gametophyte will grow, they form gamete. Fertilization of gamete. Two gamete, they do fertilization. When they do fertilization, maybe I change this color. So they do fertilization. I'll finish with this. I need to go out also. So fertilization. and this is meiosis. So one thing I need you to understand, this whole chart I create just by remembering one thing. I make gamete, I do meiosis. Plant make gamete, they do mitosis. That's all I remember. And I can create this. Sporophyte generation is diploid generation that produce haploid spores through meiosis. Gametophyte generation is haploid generation that produce haploid gamete through mitosis, cell division. Two gametes fertilize, form sporophyte. Sporophyte forms spore, spore will become gametophyte. I actually have the same diagram in the notes this side. More nicely done for you. But I'm trying to show you how I create this chart by remembering this simple information. Do mitosis to form gamete. Opposite of what we do. We do meiosis, they do mitosis. Now, if you understand this chart, then the next two questions, sporophyte generation become gametophyte generation because of meiosis. Sporophyte generation become gamete because haploid spores is going to become the gametophyte through meiosis. Gametophyte generation becomes sporophyte generation because of fertilization. Gametophyte generation becomes sporophyte generation because of fertilization. So this is introduction of the plant. We haven't gone to the first phylum. We'll do that next class tomorrow. For now, I've introduced to you general characteristic of the plant, and one of the most important explanation for the plant is that sporophyte and gametophyte generation. The life cycle have both sporophyte and gametophyte generation. They always alternate. Alternation of generation. To create that, I do this. This is how I've created the whole diagram just by remembering one information. Form gamete, do mitosis. Gametophyte form gamete, sporophyte form spores. This is one definition. This is another definition. Two definition, important definition is in the chart. Maybe it's new for you, but you need this name, sporophyte, gametophyte in the explanation. That will be introduction of plant. Further details about the four phylum we'll cover tomorrow and also on Saturday. By Saturday, we should be able to finish the plant. Maybe, yeah, by Saturday we can finish the plant, but animal I think cannot because animal 6 phylum, quite a lot. We try to cover as much as possible. For the moment, any question? So this is important. Make sure you know how to create this chart. This is important chart. It's you need it for many explanation under the plant. This information will be in all the 4 plants. You need to use this again and again. Which is dominant, which is recessive. We need to explain for every generation. Okay, so tomorrow we'll continue with the 4 phylum. Bryophyta, Felicynophyta, Coniferophyta, and Angiospermophyta. We try to finish off all the plants tomorrow so that Saturday we can try to finish off the animal. Thanks for